Hello and welcome to our video about the impacts of America to Europe. Now blues.
At the beginning, blues was sung by the African slaves. They had to work on cotton fields, and to make the work easier, they started to sing. The songs were easy to sing, and they were often about love, pain, desires, and sorrow. The work gave them the rhythm by making always the same movement, and this is where blues was born. The songs remembered the slaves on the motherland, and it meant a lot for them because they felt free, and that gave them their cultural identity back. The whites didn't like the music, but the music became more and more popular and was sang by more and more people. At the end of the Civil War in 1865, slavery became illegal in all states in the USA, and the Afro-Americans became free, but they hadn't the same right as the white did, but at least they got now money for their work. Some blacks spent their money for instruments, others used the garbage from rich people and built their own guitars. Harmonicas from Germany were very popular. The musicians created out of simple songs really good songs, and more bands were founded. Blues became a new music direction, and the songs were played in barn at farms. The first blues hit in the world was called Crazy Blues. Since 1940, blues has been played in the radios in the USA, and the whites began to like the music between the 50s and 60s. Because of the Amerika Folk Blues Festival in 1962, blues became common in Europe too. The first German blues band was founded in 1968 and was called Das Dritte Ohr. But in the following years, the people heard more hip-hop and soul, so the hype of blues was gone. Jazz, funk, soul and rock and roll are results of the blues.
Now Truman Doctrine.
The Truman Doctrine was an idea of the US which contains that all European countries get economic and financial support when they are against the Soviet Union and their communistic politics. This is what the US President Harry Truman told on the 12th of March 1947 in the US Congress. The reason for that was that the US was afraid of the communism which spread in Germany, in Austria, and also in Greece, was a fight against communistic fighters who had the target to destroy their government. And also Turkey was shortly before losing huge parts of their country by the Soviet Union. All these countries liked the idea and joined this plan, and this was the beginning of the Cold War between the East and the West. The consequences of the Truman Doctrine was the Marshall Plan and the collapse in the American-Soviet politics in Germany.
Now Marshall Plan.
The Marshall Plan, or ERP, was a huge economic support for the European countries in World War II. Because of the 6-year-long war against Hitler, 50 million people died and a lot of important economic cities had been destroyed by bombs. Also, the agriculture was a victim of the war, so a famine broke out. The USA gave Europe food, money and goods which had a value of $12.4 billion. Only West Germany needed $1.5 billion. The program started on the 3rd April 1948 and was set into force by Harry Truman, and was the idea of the former Secretary of State George Marshall. He had 3 reasons to help Europe. Reason 1 was to support the distressed, homeless and hungry people in Europe, to stop the communism of the Soviet Union and to create a market for the American overproduction. After the start of the Marshall Plan, the European economy grew up very fast and a lot of people had a good life. But not only the Marshall Plan was the reason for that. Germany still has $12 billion from the Marshall Plan.
Now TTIP.
The Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership is an agreement that makes the import and export between the USA and Europe easier and cheaper because the producer don't have to pay tax. That makes the products cheaper. TTIP makes that much more products can be sold, but with this agreement many of the countries have to give up their standards and laws in section GMO or in the financial market. On the other hand, TTIP is very great because the people don't have to buy cheap imported Asian products because the other goods are also cheap. The economy would grow very fast. On the other hand, TTIP abolishes laws in Germany like GMO control or fracking ban. So in many countries, useful laws are in danger.
So that was our video about the impacts of America to Europe. Thank you for watching.